alternatives for our generation, we need to make sure that we are covering all our bases.
All right. And Dakuni.
Yes, thanks. I think it's very important to have a perspective on all of this. If we look at nuclear power, for instance, it will take at least 10 to 12 years before we can commission a new unit in nuclear. If we look at the structure of our economy and the patterns and the way we use energy, we have a crisis currently. And we have to address this crisis very soon, or else we will be with very poor economic growth over the next 5 to 10 years. The place for renewable energies is definitely established. But in the short term, we need to encourage renewable energy projects coming, because our carbon footprint is horrendous. However, we will not be able to move away from conventional power generation in the short term, simply because of the structure of our economy. In the long term, we have to re-establish a baseline that says this is going to be the pattern of energy usage. If we stick to the current pattern, we're going to be looking at high-density energy forms for the next 20, 30 years. And that will be detrimental to the greenhouse gases which we will emit.
Mo Siddiqui would like to comment?
Obviously, I'm a wind person. I've worked with wind turbines for a number of years now, and there's been some really interesting comments by your listeners, and I must say, most of them I'm in agreement with. I had some interesting comments from Davin, who was mentioning that wind has come in to help the peaking generation of South Africa, which is something I agree to. I agree with one of the other listeners, I think it was Sebastian, about the water, that South Africa has a water crisis. I think Claire mentioned a good point that wind's quick, it's cheap, and it's easy. And also, the big point that we're forgetting is it's also economically stable for the country. We need jobs in South Africa. There's many people out there in small farms that maybe don't have anything to do today, that hopefully will be listening, maybe don't have the opportunity to listen. These are the kind of people that we can employ to help keep the wind farms running. These are the kind of people that we can employ to help keep the grounds clean, to keep them secure, to keep the agriculture around the wind farms going. There's lots of opportunities for South Africa to embrace, and I think it's really, really important that we keep the focus on allowing IPPs and etc. Different companies in South Africa to build wind power projects or to build renewable energy power projects.
All right, Mo. Okay, let's pause. We'll continue in a moment. I'll be taking a couple of calls. My guests, Claire Falk-Vane, Doug Cooney, and Mo Siddiqui.
The After 8 debate with Tim Mediso.
We have received SMSs. One reads, methanol from hemp and burning hemp in power stations could supply a lot of energy. Another says Japan is partnering with Botswana to produce solar power in a project worth about 81 million pula. Why is South Africa not doing that? Eskom is milking us. Chris says, go the way of PBMR. It is on its way to completion and success. Ivan says, is it not important that we are wasteful burning coal that we could turn into petrol? We should think about that. Another says, if African countries work together to harness the hydropower of our huge rivers, we would be sorted out. Well, Mohammed, I'm going to ask you to be very brief. You are in Johannesburg. Good morning. Welcome. Mike, welcome.
Morning, Tim. My comment to you this morning is very simple.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's very important to listen to all these people, like from renewable energy, from coal or nuclear energy. But the most important thing is what South Africa wants, and then what South Africa can be able to afford. If you look at this discussion about emission and all those kind of stuff, it's people in other countries who started that, and then to my mind, they're actually misleading us. To me, I say, okay, we've got a lot of coal. Whoever says by 2025 we'll run out of coal, I don't know. That statement is not substantiated, and then they don't know what they're talking about because they don't know how much coal we have. And they can say, okay, the coal, their discovery says, okay, this is how much coal we have found out under the ground, but it will end maybe in 2025. But there's still more that they didn't find out, that they didn't discover. So to me, I say we have got a lot of coal. Let's burn it. Let those who are worrying about...
Mike, well, you've made the point. Thank you very much. Let's end it right there. Now, Claire. as we end our discussion, what do you expect very briefly to come out of the African Utility Week?
Well, the organisers of African Utility Week facilitate the discussions. We bring the people together, and we are really hoping that, particularly in terms of the role that renewable energy can play in South Africa and in Africa, that we will be able to get to a situation where some of the regulatory issues, for instance, can be addressed and discussed.
Claire Folkvane, thank you. Doug Cooney, thanks very much. And Mo Siddiqui, thanks again for having been my guest. This is how we come to the end of our discussion.